Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimiraandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilidam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadanti Supadandikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Udapatagamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Pirupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vidam Sya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tata Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabano Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhesha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Budre Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunivadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartham Eka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari Kripam Buddhiryastamaham Prabhadye Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavadaram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hari Om Tat Sat. So we are reading from Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, chapter 20, the goal of Vedanta study. It's concluded that Lord Krishna or Vishnu is not of this material world. He belongs to the spiritual world. One who considers him to be a demigod of the material world is a great offender and blasphemer. Lord Vishnu is not subject to perception by material senses, nor can he be realized by mental speculation. Unlike in the material world, where there is always a difference between a body and the soul, there is no difference between the body and the soul of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So, Lord Krishna, he incarnates in this material world in different names and forms. Okay, Malsya Kurma Varaha Narasimha Vamana Sri Rama, Parashurama, then Balrama, Buddha, Kalki. Okay, these are the 10 main avatars. There are 22 listed avatars in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Apart from that, there are innumerable avatars which are not given in the scriptures also. But then, when he comes to this material world, he is not of this material world. He is in the material world, but he is not of this material world. Like us, unlike us. Okay, we are in the material world, we are of this material world because we are living for our body, for a sense gratification. So we become of this material world. Whereas, although Lord Krishna incarnates in different forms and for performing different pastimes in this material universe, he is aloof from the three modes of this material nature. He is totally aloof from the clutches of this Maya, because under him only this Maya works. He is a controller of the Maya. So how can he be, subjugated by Maya? He cannot be. So he doesn't belong to this material world. He belongs to the spiritual world. But those who considers him one among us, that is also of this material world, that he has to undergo all the karmic reactions of the activities that is he doing. He becomes a big offender and blasphemer. That is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. And we cannot understand the Supreme Lord, about his appearance, his pastimes, his paraphernalia, his attributes, his qualities, his glories, all these things we will not be able to understand with our blunt material senses. Okay. Rupa Goswami says in Nectar of Devotion, Ataha Sri Krishna Namadi na bhave grahyam indriye sevon mukhehi jivado swayam eva spurati ataha. With our blunt material senses, we will not be able to understand the Supreme Lord, his appearance, his pastimes, his different qualities, his activities. This we will not be able to understand at all. Only by using our tongue, by constantly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and consuming prasadam, we'll be able to understand the Supreme Lord, because whatever we need to know, it will be revealed to us simply by taking up the process of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Because by chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, all our senses gets purified and our consciousness will be purified. We'll be able to think in the right direction, and all our activities will be in pure mode of goodness. Only then we'll be able to understand the Supreme Lord as he is. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvadaha tektva deham punarjanma naiti mam edi swarjuna. So those who understand the appearance and the activities of Supreme Lord, okay, in truth, they will never come back to this material world for perpetual suffering. Once they go there, they'll be staying there, in their Sachidananda Rupa. We all have the Sachidananda Rupa. It's clearly given here. Always a difference between body and the soul in the material world. But in the spiritual world, there is no difference between the body and the soul. Everything is one. It is Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Whereas in the material world, the body is different, the soul is different. So material things are enjoyed by the living entities because the living entities are superior in quality, whereas material nature is inferior. Okay, so we all know this. We come under the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. Okay, and we are superior to the Bahiranga Shakti, external energy of the Supreme Lord. But unfortunately, we also come under the clutches of this inferior external energy because we want to enjoy this material energy. In that process, we can come under the clutches of this material energy. Otherwise, we are superior to nature because we are living entities. We comes in the energy of the Tls Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti. Okay. So the superior nature, the living entities can enjoy the inferior nature, matter, because Lord Vishnu is in no way touched by matter. Okay. He is not influenced by the matter, Jada. Okay. Matter is within the three modes of material nature. So he is not touched by the matter, he is totally aloof. Although he is in the material world, he is not of this material world. He has no tendency to enjoy material nature the way the living entities do. We want to enjoy our senses, so we exploit the material nature, and in that process we get, trapped in the complexities of material nature. So the living entities cannot attain knowledge of Vishnu by enjoying their habits of mental speculation. The infinitesimal living entities are not the enjoyers of Vishnu, but they are enjoyed by Vishnu. Because in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna very nicely, clearly and categorically states that Bhoktaram Yetnyadapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhurdam Sarva Bhudanam Nyatva Mam Shanti. Bhokta, who is the Bhokta? He is the enjoyer, he is the only enjoyer. So as mentioned here rightly, we are enjoyed by the Supreme Lord because we being the part and parcel, Mamai Vamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Okay. We are being enjoyed by the Supreme Lord, the whole. He is the whole, we are part and parcel. The part and parcel on its own cannot enjoy. Just like suppose, my hand cannot enjoy chapati if I just keep the chapati on my hand, okay, without feeding it to my mouth, I cannot enjoy. So the part alone cannot enjoy. In coordination, in cooperation with the whole, the part of the body also gets enjoyment. So he's enjoyed. The enjoyer is the Supreme Lord. That's why he said, Bhoktaram Yetni Tapasam. Okay. So only the greatest offender thinks that Vishnu is enjoyed. We cannot enjoy Vishnu. We are enjoyed by Vishnu. He is the only enjoyer. He is the only Purusha. Okay. In relationship with Krishna or Vishnu, we are feminine in gender. Every one of us. Maybe we have different bodies, male body, female body. But when we are in relationship with Vishnu, Supreme Lord Vishnu, our gender is female only, whether we are in male form or female form. In the material world, we have male and female form, right? But when it comes to Krishna, we are all in feminine gender. So only the greatest offender thinks that Vishnu is enjoyed. Greatest blasphemy is to consider Vishnu and the living entity on the same level. That is the greatest offense that anyone does. To consider Lord Vishnu and the living entities at par, on the same level. Okay, so one of the offenses also, one of the offenses against chanting the holy name is also that to consider the names of Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. We can never equate anyone equal to Vishnu or independent of Vishnu. Everyone is independent of Lord Vishnu or Krishna. So this will be a blasphemy if you do so. Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead is compared to a blazing fire, and the innumerable living entities are compared to sparks emanating from that fire. Comparison is given. Suppose if Lord Vishnu is blazing fire, the innumerable living entities are compared to the sparks that is emanating from that fire. Although both the Supreme Lord and the living entities are qualitatively fire, there is yet a distinction. What is the distinction? We are qualitatively one. The fire, the blazing fire and the sparks are qualitatively one. It gives the same heat and light. But in quantity, the whole fire, the blazing fire, is much, much more than the spark. So that's the difference. He is Vibhu, we are Anu. He is great, we are infinitesimal. So there is yet a distinction. Vishnu, the Supreme, is infinite, whereas the living entities, which are but sparks, are infinitesimal. The infinitesimal living entities are emanation from the original infinite spirit. In their constitutional position as infinitesimal spirits, there is no trace of matter. So in our constitutional position, there is no matter at all, because what is our constitutional position? Jivera Surupohe, Krishna and Nityadas. We are spirit soul. Soul is made up of Satchit Ananda. Okay. So we are spirit in nature. But unfortunately, when we come in contact with the material nature, we are covered with body which is made up of Panchabhuta, Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, Kam. So there is a difference between the body and the soul in the material world, but in spiritual world, there is no difference. The body, the soul, the senses, the mind, intelligence, everything is same, everything is Satchidananda. So we cannot differentiate from one another. Here in this material world, we can differentiate. Body separate, it is made of matter, and the mind, intelligence, false ego, that's also made up of matter, but the soul proper is made up of Satchidananda. Only when it comes into contact with the body, material, senses, then it misidentifies as this body. That is the only mistake that we are doing in this material world. The Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, is compared to a blazing fire. We read that. Okay. The living entities are not as great as Narayana, Vishnu, who is beyond this material creation. Even Shankaracharya accepts Narayana to be beyond the material creation. So it's also given in his work, in his Bhashya, that Narayana is superior to this material creation. He accepts that. Since neither Vishnu nor the living entity are of the material creation, someone may inquire, why were the small particles of spirit created at all? The answer is that the Supreme Absolute Truth is complete in its perfection when he is both infinite and infinitesimal. If he were simply infinite but not infinitesimal, he would not be perfect. The infinite portion is the Vishnu Tattva or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the infinitesimal portion is the living entity. So, the Supreme Whole and its parts and parcel, the infinite and the infinitesimal. In quality, they are all same, but in quantity, they differ. Okay. So, what it says that the infinite, the Lord Vishnu, is Vishnu Tattva, and his all his direct expansions, portions of the portions are all Vishnu Tattva, but his separated expansions. Who are the separated expansions? The living entities. They are not Vishnu Tattva. They are, what Tattva is that? Jiva Tattva. Living entities. Who comes under marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. Okay. So Vishnu Tattva is different. He is infinite. The infinitesimal, the rays that is emanating from the Supreme Lord, or the spark that's emanating from the Supreme Lord, that is the living entities, are infinitesimal part of the Supreme Lord. Okay, and they are not Vishnu Tattva. One should not mistake that we are Vishnu. I am Narayana. You are Narayana. Yes, our soul is having the same quality as that of Vishnu, but not the body. And we are one in quality, but not in quantity. So this difference we should clearly understand. We can never equate ourselves with Vishnu. Vishnu is infinite. He is Vibhu. We are Anu. This difference, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is clarifying to Prakashananda Saraswati and his followers. So we are all infinitesimal portion of the Supreme Lord who wants to lord over the material nature, who wants to enjoy this material world separately from Krishna. That's why we've got entangled in this material world again and again, because as long as we come out of this shell of material existence, it is not possible for us to go back home, back to what it means. Coming out of the shell means we should understand that we are suffering because we are the material world, trying to lord of the material nature, trying to enjoy the senses, material senses. So we should clearly understand that our senses are to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Lord. Rishi Kena, Rishi Kesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchadi. Only then we will be able to, get across this material existence and go back home, back to Godhead. Otherwise, it is not possible. So, due to the infinite desires of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual world exists. And due to the infinitesimal desires of the living entity, the material world exists. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling how the spiritual world is existing. What is the reason? What causes the spiritual world as well as the material world, to exist? So the desires of the Supreme Lord, the infinite desires of the Supreme Lord, it is because of that the spiritual world exists. And due to the infinitesimal desires of the living entity, as long as the living entities who are there in the material world wants to enjoy the senses, till such time the material world will exist. It will not cease to exist otherwise. So even if a few handful of devotees gets elevated and goes back home, back to order, there's still 99.99 people will be here in this material world, enjoying this material world. So it's not possible. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit edadi siddhaye edadam abhisiddhanam kaschit bam vedi tattva. Out of thousands and thousands of people, hardly few will try to endeavor for perfection. And out of such perfected being, hardly one will know me in truth. So now you know the percentage. So this material world is going to exist eternally. But manifestation and manifestation is definitely there. It gets manifested, it gets unmanifested at frequent interval. That is there. So that's why it's the material called temporary. Although it is going to be there for from time immemorial, it is there and it will be there also. But anyway, it is temporary because manifestation and manifestation is taking place. So when the infinitesimal living entities are engaged in trying to fulfill their infinitesimal desires for material enjoyment, they are called Jiva Shakti. Okay. So that's why we are called Jiva Shakti. Because we want to enjoy this material world. But when they are doubted with the infinite, they are called liberated souls. So when we are totally surrendered and serve the Supreme Lord to our fullest extent, okay, for his satisfaction, then we are called Jivan Mukta, okay, Nitya Mukta. Otherwise, we are called Nitya Baddha. So to become liberated or Nitya Mukta, we have to dovetail all our activities for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. There is no need to ask, therefore, why God created infinitesimal portions. They are simply the complementary side of the Supreme. It's a complementary side of the Supreme. It's doubtlessly essential for the infinite to have infinitesimal portions, which are inseparable parts and parcels of the Supreme Soul. No, we cannot be totally isolated, the living entities. Even though we think that we have no connection with the Supreme Lord, we are connected with the Supreme Lord always. Even though we don't accept that. The atheists, the non-believers, they don't accept the existence of God. Whether they believe or they don't believe, it's a fact. They're always dependent on the Supreme Lord, directly or indirectly for everything. Nobody is independent. Is there anybody independent in this world? Anyone? That I have no connection at all to anyone and anything in this material world. Can anyone say, Mr. Jodi?
No, Prabhuji.
It's not at all possible. Okay, even if you believe or don't believe, it's a fact. Everyone is directly or indirectly dependent on someone or the other or something or the other. So it's doubtlessly essential for the infinite to have infinitesimal portions, which are inseparable parts and parcels of the Supreme Soul. Inseparable. Okay. We cannot be separated from the Supreme Soul or Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna says, Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayu Kammano Bujirevacha Ahankara Idi Amme Bhinna Pragriti Tartrada. Bhinna Pragriti. What is that? Separated energy. There are 8. It is his separated energy. And they are also his separated energy. Okay. His expansions, incarnations are called Suamsha and we are called Vibhinna Amsha. And all the material elements are also his separated energy. So nothing is, independent in this material world. Nothing is independent, whether living or non-living. Everything has a relationship with the Supreme Lord directly or indirectly. Because the living entities are infinitesimal parts and parcel of the Supreme, there is a reciprocation of feelings between the infinite and the infinitesimal. Had there been no infinitesimal living entities, Supreme Lord would have been inactive, and there would not be variegatedness in spiritual life. Because there are parts and parcel, there are many living entities. There is reciprocation, there is service, everything is there. And there are varieties. If there are no such varieties, where is enjoyment? There is no enjoyment at all. So in that case, if there are no varieties, there are no living entities, separate part and parcel, he will be inactive. What activity will be there? No activity. Just imagine we are locked up in one room. Nobody is there. We don't have any phone. We don't have TV. We don't have any friends in the room. We are totally locked up. What activity can we do? It will be like that. No activity. So we need somebody to speak to. We need somebody to, be friendship, make friendship, talk to them, discuss to them, and only then we'll be able to enjoy our life. Alone we cannot, isn't it? Is it possible for anybody to stay alone in a closed room for so many hours or days or eternally in this lifetime?
No.
It is not possible. We need. So similarly, that's the reason Lord Krishna or Vishnu also has expanded, separately so many living entities, so that everybody can serve the Supreme Lord, whereby he also enjoys. He is the enjoyer. Otherwise, he will be inactive. That's what it says. And there would not be variegatedness in the spiritual life. So its spiritual life is full of variegatedness. There will be no meaning to a king if there were no subjects. And there will be no meaning to the Supreme God if there were no infinitesimal living entities. So a king without any subjects, what sort of a king he will be? So like that, if there are no infinitesimal parts and parcel, there is no meaning for God. Infinite. How can there be meaning to the word Lord if there is no one to rule? The conclusion is that the living entities are expansions of the energy of the Supreme Lord, and that the Supreme Lord, the personality of God and Krishna, is the energetic. The energy and the energetic. Lord Krishna is the energetic, and all others are his energies. So, any comments or questions so far? Yes, Gaurang.
Dhammapada Prabhuji. Prabhuji, so are we energy?
Yes, we are energy.
Oh.
The Supreme Lord is energetic.
Oh.
Okay.
Thank you,
Prabhuji, I had a doubt that if we are all energies of the Supreme Lord, then previously we were reading that some people can equate Lord with the common people, and that's the biggest blasphemy he will do. So how is it possible that if we are energy of the Supreme Lord, how can someone do blasphemy?
Because we have a freedom. We have been given a little independence by the Lord. He is not a monarch who dictates. You have to do like this. He has given us freedom, and it is up to us to go to him and accept him. If you don't accept also, he will not mind. Then we'll have to suffer in this material world. That's all. So we are his energy, but we are not robots. Robots, whatever the program is done in that robot, what program, how it has been programmed, the robot will work like that. We are not programmed like that. Okay? We have been given freedom, independence by the Supreme Lord. Because of that independence, we have choices. We may or may not accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. Is it clear?
Yes.
If you are a robot, we have no choice. According to how the program, how the robot is being programmed, the robot has to work. Okay. Similarly, the other living entities apart from the human being, they have no freedom. They have no free will. They have to go in a programmed mode, auto mode. They cannot think and they cannot choose anything. So that's the difference between other living entities and the human being. Is it clear, Shijodi?
Yes, Prabhuji, clear. Also, I wanted to ask that from the other living entities like the animals, can the animal soul get liberated directly, or he has to come in human form?
No, usually it is not the case. some special mercy by the Supreme Lord, they also can get liberated from that. But they're very, very less, because they're all that's part of Leelas of the Supreme Lord. But usually, there is a set path. They have to, get transmigrated from one lower species to another lower species higher. And in that process, at last they will come to the human form of life. And from that human form of life, they can get liberated to the spiritual world. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji, clear. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Very good. Yes, Gaurang. You're on mute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Ram.
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
what does blasphemy mean?
Blasphemy.
Yeah.
Okay, you are accusing somebody, abusing somebody. This is called blasphemy.
Oh, thank you, Prabhuji.
Telling bad about others.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
that is
Thank
blasphemy.
you, Ram.
Anybody else? Sri Hari Kirtan Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam.
Dandat Pranam. Okay, we'll continue. In all Vedic literatures, including the Bhagavad Gita and Vishnu Purana, much evidence is given to distinguish between the energy and the energetic. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.4, it is clearly stated that earth, water, fire, air, ether, the five gross elements, and the material world, and mind, intelligence, and false ego, three subtle elements are all the Lord's energies. So, as I told you earlier, Bhumirapo Nalo Vayu, Kammano Buddhirevacha, Ahankara Idiyamme, Bhinna Prakriti. So, these are the 8 different energies of the Supreme Lord. Okay, they are Bhinna Prakriti, separated energies. Okay, all material nature is divided into these 8 elements, which together comprise his inferior nature. These 8 elements are inferior in nature or energy. Another name for this inferior nature is Maya or illusion. Beyond these 8 inferior elements is superior energy, which is called Para Prakriti. The word Para Prakriti comprises the living entities who are found in great numbers throughout the material world. The purport is that the Supreme Lord is the absolute truth, the energetic, and that as such he has energies. And how he can become energetic without energies? So to become energetic, there should be energy. So it is part and parcel. So energy is part of the energetic. So energetic means there should be some energies also. When one of these energies is not properly manifested, or when it is covered by some shadow, it is called Maya Shakti. Okay. When one of his energies is not properly manifested, or when it is covered by some shadow, it is called Maya Shakti. That we feel, okay, that this is permanent, it is eternal, it's for our enjoyment. These are all coming under Maya Shakti. The material cosmic manifestation is a product of Maya Shakti. So the material existence, the manifestation of the material world is a product of Maya Shakti, that is the external energy of the Supreme Lord. Okay. Any questions or any comments so far? We'll continue. The living entities are factually beyond discovered inferior energy, because the inferior energy is dull matter. It is all matter. It has no chetana, no consciousness. It will have consciousness, it will become enlivened only when the soul enters the inferior energy. Okay, even this material world, which is nature, only when the Supreme Lord as Garbhodasaya Vishnu enters this material world, it becomes enlivened. Similarly, this body becomes enlivened only when the soul enters. When the soul leaves this body, it is dead, dull matter. Okay. So they have their pure spiritual existence, their pure identity, and their pure mental activities, all beyond the manifestation of the material cosmos. So in the spiritual world, everything is spiritual, no matter at all. Although the living entity's mind, intelligence, and identity are beyond the range of the material world, when he enters into this material world due to his desire to lord it over matter, his original mind, intelligence, and body become covered by the material energy. So when it comes in contact with the material world, everything becomes matter. So when we get liberated, when we become pure, when we are entitled to go to the supreme abode after complete purification, then there will be no matter at all. Everything will become spiritual. The material mind will become spiritual mind. The material intelligence will become spiritual intelligence. The false ego, which is considered as material, will become true ego, which is spiritual. The body will not be made up of the 5 dhatus, Panchabhuta. Everything will be Satchidananda. There will be no distinction between this body, the soul, the mind, the intelligence, and all. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing us. When he is again free of the covering of the material inferior energy, he is called liberated. When he is liberated, he has no false ego, but he has his real ego again comes into existence. So the false ego is misidentifying ourselves with the body. The real ego is the identification of ourselves with the Supreme Lord as part and parcel. Foolish mental speculators think that after liberation, one's identity is lost. But that is not so. This is the impersonalist school of thought teaches that way. After liberation, they lose their identity. It is not possible. We are eternal beings. We are eternally coexisting with the Supreme Lord, either in the material world or in the spiritual world. Okay? In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna very clearly says that Natvevaham jatu nasham naptam neme janadipa. Okay? Yes, Krishna is telling, all these kings, you nor me, are, he says like this, never was there a time you, me, or all these kings never existed, nor shall any one of us cease to exist. That means we were there, we are here, and we will be there in the future. So we are eternally existing. So obvious that, we will get merged in the impersonal member effulgence, or we will lose the identity once we get liberated. It is not possible. So even after liberation, we maintain our identity as the part and parcel of Supreme Lord. It's a wrong philosophy to think that we merge in the impersonal Brahman and loses the identity. That's what it is said here. Foolish mental speculators think that after liberation, one's identity is lost. We don't lose our identity. We are eternally the part and parcel of Supreme, whether in the material world or in the spiritual world. Because the living entity is eternally part and parcel of the God, when he is liberated, he revives his original, eternal part and parcel identity. So when we get liberated, we revive our original identity. The realization of Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit, not this body. So Aham Brahmasmi means, it doesn't mean that we are the Supreme Brahman. We are Brahman. Brahman is the part and parcel of the Supreme Brahman. Brahmasmi, we are part and parcel of that Supreme Brahman. We are not Supreme Brahman, we are just Brahman. The realization of Aham Brahmasmi. does not mean that the living entity loses the identity. At the present moment, person may consider himself to be matter, but in his liberated state, he will understand that he is not matter but spirit soul, part of the infinite. To become Krishna conscious or spiritually conscious and to engage in the transcend loving service of Krishna are signs of the liberated stage. Okay. So any points or comments so far from this para?
Prabhuji, one question.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, you said now, you explained now that how we can be liberated and then we will not lose the identity. But will our name remain same what we were here in the spiritual world, or the name will change?
Yeah. Everything will change. You will not carry anything that is made up of matter from here. Here we have only souls as spirit. Rest everything is made up of matter. Our body, our mind, our intelligence, our ego, everything is matter. So we will transform ourselves as all this mind will become purified, will become spiritual mind, spiritual intelligence, and true ego. We will get a Sachidananda body, not material body. So we will not go like this to the spiritual world. Only the soul, and the soul in this material world is in the seed form. It's not in its full blossomed form. It is in the seed form. Because it is covered with the matter. The body, mind, intelligence, false ego. It is full of bile, mucus, air, and such things. Bones, flesh, blood. This body is made up of that, right?
Yes,
A
Prabhuji.
sack full of bones, mucus, bile, air, blood, and everything. Once that soul leaves from this body, what happens? It starts
The
stinking.
body organelles will fail and
Yeah,
will become.
it gets decomposed. It starts stinking. As long as the soul is in the body, everything is intact. It's no problem. The moment the soul leaves this body, gets decomposed, and it will start stinking. Slowly and gradually, all the respective elements will merge with the respective elements of this material world. Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji, clear. Just one more doubt I had, that in the beginning you said that Lord Parshuram was an incarnation of Lord Krishna, and Lord Ram was also incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So I read that in Raja Janak's Darbar there was a big conversation in which Lord Parshuram got angry because the bow which was of Lord Shiva accidentally broke by Lord Ram while taking it. So how is it possible that that same Lord's incarnation on two different sides are against each other?
Okay. And these are part of that Leela. Okay, one thing. And another thing, Lord Parshuram is a Shakti Avesha Avatara. Okay. He didn't know when this incident happened. Later he came to know Lord Rama is the supreme personality of Godhead. Okay. Then he changed his view about Lord Ram. Okay. These are part of his Leela, Lord's Leela. He is not Vishnu Tattva directly. He is an empowered incarnation. Shakti Avesha Avatara. Okay. And these are all part of the Leelas of the Supreme Lord for different purposes. Just like now your father is empowering you to go and attend a meeting, which he was supposed to do, but he's empowering you. You become a representative of Supreme, your father. Similarly, a living entity can be empowered by the Supreme Lord. Okay, and even the Supreme Lord can expand and empower that expansion with limited energy to do a particular leela. So it's possible both the ways. So empowered incarnation can be a living entity also, and also it can be an expansion also. Okay. Vyasadeva is an empowered incarnation, literary incarnation. Prithu Maharaj is an empowered incarnation. So either the empowered incarnation can be either the Supreme Lord's expansion or it can be a Jiva Tattva also. Jiva Tattva.
Yes, Prabhuji, understand.
So in the Vishnu Purana, it is clearly stated, Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetra Jnakya Tatha Para Avidya Karma Samnanya Tritiya Shaktir Ishyate. The energy of the Supreme Lord is divided into three: Para, Kshetrajna, and Avidya. The Para energy is actually the energy of the Supreme Lord Himself. The Kshetrajna energy is the living entity, and the Avidya energy is the material world or Maya. Okay, so it is divided into three. Para is the Supreme Lord's energy, Kshetrajna is the living entity, and Avidya is the matter or material world Maya. It's called avidya or ignorance because under the spell of this material energy, one forgets his actual position and his relationship with the Supreme Lord. The conclusion is that the living entities represent one of the energies of the Supreme Lord. As infinitesimal parts and parts of the Supreme, they are called jivas. If the jivas are artificially placed on the same level with the infinite Supreme, because both of them are Brahman or spirit, then bewilderment will certainly be the result. So if we consider ourselves with the Supreme Lord, okay, at par, then totally we are bewildered. Okay. We are Brahman, that's why Brahmasmi. But we are not Supreme Brahman. We are person, but we are not Supreme Person. Okay, this difference we have to understand. He is also person. Lord, the Supreme Lord is also person. That's why, we have coined his name, Prabhupada or the Acharyas have coined his name, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purna Purushottam Bhagavan. Okay. Is there no difference between person and the Supreme Person? There is, isn't it? So he is Supreme Person, he is Parabrahman, and we are Brahman. We are Amsha, part and parcel. Generally, Mayavadi philosophers are perplexed before a learned Vaishnava because Mayavadis cannot explain cause of bondage of the living entities. They simply say it is due to ignorance. Why the living entities suffering in this material world, they cannot give a clear explanation. They simply say it is due to ignorance. What is ignorance? But they cannot explain how the living entities can be covered by ignorance if they are supreme. So their question, the Vaishnava is asking the Mayavada philosophers, if the Supreme Lord and the living entities are at par on the same level, how they will be covered by ignorance? You are Narayana, I am Narayana, he is Narayana, everybody is Narayana. Then, my interest and your interest should be same. Isn't it? Why the interests are different? And I will not hate you, you will not hate me. There will be no hatred towards anyone because we are all Narayana. We have the same mind, we have the same likings, same dislikes, whatever it is. There is no difference. If all are on the same level, so there should not be any friction between us, right? So the actual reason is that the living entities, although qualitatively one with the Supreme, are infinitesimal, not infinite. Had they been infinite, there would have been no possibility of their being covered by ignorance. Why we are covered? Because we are just minute. That's why we are not infinite. That's why we are covered by ignorance. Because the living entity is infinitesimal, he can be covered by an inferior energy. The foolishness and ignorance of the Mayavadis are revealed when they try to explain how the infinite can be covered by ignorance. It is offensive to attempt to qualify the infinite by arguing that it is subject to the spell of ignorance. We are subject to the spell of ignorance, but not the Supreme Lord, because Supreme Lord is infinite, we are infinitesimal. Okay, so I will stop here. From next week, we'll continue from this para. Although Shankara attempted to cover the Supreme Lord by his Maya of the philosophy, simply following the order of the Supreme Lord. Okay, so I will stop the sharing. Please note this para. Although Shankara attempted. Hare Krishna. So I will stop here. Hare Krishna. Let me stop the recording.